As you all know, we had a problem in 2008 because of too much debt. Well, now the debt is much, much, much higher everywhere in the world. A lot of people have discussed austerity. Nobody has lower debt this year than last, much less than in 2008. And the debt's going higher and higher every day, every week, every month. So this is going to end disastrously when it ends, whether the central banks come to their senses and raise interest rates, which is unlikely, or whether the market finally just says, we're not going to play anymore. We don't want your garbage. You can print all the garbage you want, but we're not going to play anymore. And that, of course, would be the worst disaster, at least if the central banks tried or even could control a change in madness. They might be able to control it. But if the market forces our hand, which is probably what's going to happen, it's going to be the worst economic times we've had in your lifetime and mine. I want to repeat, the next time we have a problem, it's going to be worse than anything you've seen in your lifetime. And I don't care how old you are, it's going to be worse than anything you have seen in your lifetime.
The world is a complex dynamic system. It more closely resembles the chain reaction in the core of a nuclear reactor. Now, you can dial a nuclear reactor up or down, but you better get it right, because if you get it wrong, you'll have a catastrophic meltdown, release radiation, and by the way, that's not reversible. There's no such thing as a melt up. We've seen meltdowns, we've never seen a melt up.
So as we said, the Great Repression, battle for your wealth in the age of financial tyranny. I had a bit of a think about that on the way up as I was sitting on the plane up here to Port Douglas and got off on the bus and it was 30 degrees and I was in my shorts and sort of looking around at the beautiful scenery on the way up, and I see you all here today, and again, it's a sunny 30-odd degree day outside. How repressed are you really right now? I mean, is it all that bad? Or are we just telling ourselves that it's all that bad? And I think that's one of the important things, and I think Dan Denning mentioned it yesterday, is by the end of today, and hopefully what I can contribute towards that, is that we can help you weaponize the thing between your ears, your brain, make you more independent thinkers, and take action for yourselves, and take opportunities that do exist, because opportunities do exist. Even in a Great Repression, financial tyranny, there are opportunities, always opportunities.
And so I decided that I thought it might be interesting to make that case in a presentation, is to say, look, what happens if you just put your hand up and say, I've got no idea, but I still want to have a crack at investing, and I still want to see how I can come up with a strategy that can still make money in a market where I've got no idea what's going on. So that's what today's about. It's about sort of going through my strategy.
As I said, my point was not to say that you need to gather all your possessions, move all your assets, and find a bolt hole. That will not work in what we're facing. But it will work if you start thinking about it with your assets and your money. Where can you put them? How can you diversify so that you're in jurisdictions that are less susceptible to financial repression?
But I think the best thing that can be done is to show you the structure of the economy, which will then allow you to read the system and to understand the system, so that then you can actually have a very good idea about what's coming next. But to do that, you know, we have to get rid of our biases, and we have to try and avoid the opinions. So I happen to think that the world is on the verge of an absolutely massive boom coming. I think, you know, my question to you is, what happens in the next century, this century, if we don't really get it? We'll get some corrections, but what happens if we don't get the major downturn? And this is why I think it's going to happen.
So it started off as just with that simple kernel of an idea, is that we wanted to build wonderful adults that will lead full and rich lives. Now it's evolved into a family wealth project, because we have got a couple of dollars, so therefore they need to know the responsibilities that will come with that. But we've been building this base over a period of time, so we didn't come with inherited money. We're first generation wealth creators, so we're not a second generation. And the more I read is the second generation, 70% of it will fail. You know, it doesn't go across. And I've read so many studies on this, because, and it's one key element. It's not because the money's gone, it's because the family's gone. Trust is gone, communication is gone. And I've seen that time and time again with wealthy families, is that the bridge hasn't been built and it gets a bit hard later.
Yes, it is the end of the world as we know it. But that was a bad day for the dinosaurs. It was a great day for mammals, though. The world changed irrevocably for mammals, and the one evolutionary advantage mammals had when that meteor hit the planet was they had the capacity for independent thought. And that independent thought allowed them to separate themselves from events and make decisions for themselves. So the biggest asset you have is right between your ears. And by being in the room for the next 2 days, I think you have a chance to, you've invested in that capital, and I hope that you get some excellent ideas. Don't be too stoic about it, though, because that day is coming.
I'm sorry you couldn't join us in person in Port Douglas, but the next best thing to being there in the pavilion tent is seeing every speaker, every breakout session, every investment recommendation, and every prediction in the comfort of your own home. As soon as you click the link below, you'll be directed to an online vault where you can stream the presentations, panel discussions, and breakout sessions at your leisure. Like I said, it's your virtual front row seat. And I can promise you that when you take your virtual seat, you won't find a more thought-provoking, entertaining, and useful investment event anywhere this decade. So don't delay. Do it. You won't regret it. Click the link below. Thanks for watching.
Incredible value for money. No expense spared for the delegates. All presenters were excellent. Fabulous knowledge shared.
DAS, always entertaining and a good balance of statistical analysis, storytelling, and subtle but important warnings.